So I've been watching a few minutes of the whole Timcast situation, and I understand that both parties are having a bit of an issue. Timcast was recently accused by Adam of doing a few things. Then you had the fan base of Twitter from the other spectrum telling him other things that he may or may not have done. And then you have Ye, who is formerly known as Kanye West, decide that he would also get some flack from a bunch of other people. Most of about every podcast I've seen that he's been in an interview with, more or less, he's got people questioning him about his faith and things that he believes in, all that. Now, most people are going to say that Ye is not in the right for what he did, but I have a different take on that. And I've watched other people's analysis of this, and they did not come to this conclusion. What I'm seeing is you have Tim saying that he doesn't interrupt, but you have to listen carefully because he does it very briefly. Several seconds within him talking, you have Tim trying to interrupt. You have one instance where he's talking about how he's going through some hardships, and Tim slowly says no, like he's trying to say, oh, I'm not trying to downplay it, I just really want to talk about something else that I'm more interested in. And this, I think, is something that Tim has to get around with. He's trying to be the host of a podcast and try to have several people around, and he's not doing a very good job accommodating them. He does this by interrupting them, by thinking about what he's going to say before he's going to say it. He should have been mentally prepared for the conversation that was to come. He had three people come onto the show that he normally doesn't have, and usually they have certain things that they want to talk about, and Tim just wasn't ready for that. He the only thing he was ready to do was pull up a random disclaimer, like as if he has something very, very important to say that doesn't have anything to do with what's being talked about. It's like, oh, I want to talk about this, and immediately Tim's like, no, I have to put a giant disclaimer. And he could have done that at the end of the show, in the middle of the show, rather than starting from the beginning. Also, Tim says that he doesn't want to get onto a certain topic, yet the first thing he does is talk about the news, which inadvertently talks about that subject. And you can't be doing that. I think it was around 3 minutes in, he pulls up an article, and it's about insulting Yi as a guest. Now, if I had to guess, maybe the trio thought that if they talked to Timcast, they would get a more neutral perspective. Maybe because most of the times when people talk to Tim, it's usually about neutrality. But in this case, it wasn't that. And I think that it'd be fair to assume that Kanye was hoping for something better, hoping to not have to sit through the same conversation over and over again. Imagine every single person you meet, it's like, oh, I really like apples, and then every single person you've interviewed since has always been like, yeah, but what is your stance on X or Y? I had to question this, and you're just not interested in hearing about it. And I think he was just frustrated with this. I think this is all Tim's fault, and yes, Kanye has some of his own flaws, but the thing I'm trying to get at is Tim could have done a much better job. If he wanted to keep his host on, he shouldn't have done the things he's done. Interrupting, trying to put a disclaimer when not necessary, putting news that is kind of irrelevant. And I understand that people have a lot to go through. Maybe you should have done this interview a different time. That's all I have to say about that.